The Brandon Peters Show may contain explicit language and detailed plot points. For more information on the show, stay tuned to the end of the episode. And now, here's Brandon.
Welcome back to Old Space Show. I'm Brandon, and this is my companion, Rachel.
Hello, hello.
This series of Old Space Show follows the story-by-story time-traveling adventures of the Sixth Doctor and Melanie Bush. I should go the other way. Mel Bush, or Mel Bush. During season 23 of Doctor Who, dubbed The Trial of the Time Lord, Colin Baker's second year in the role. Today, we'll be discussing the story comprised of episodes 9, 10, 11, and 12, known as Terror of the Vervoids.
The Time Lords have brought the Doctor to trial, accusing him of gross interference in the affairs of other planets. If he is found guilty, he must forfeit all his remaining regenerations. In the hope of proving his innocence, Melanie Bush, an as of yet unmet companion from later in his life, is summoned to the court. Hopefully, through her help, the jurors will be reassured in letting the Doctor go free by seeing what good acts he stands to commit as opposed to destructive ones. In his defense, the Doctor tells of an adventure from his personal future, set on board the Hyperion 3 space liner in his future. Answering a distress call, the Doctor and Mel arrive on the liner just as a series of grisly murders begins.
All right, this one is directed by Chris Clow and written by Pip and Jane Baker, starring Colin Baker, Bonnie Langford.
No relation.
Yes, a lot of Bakers in the Whoverse. That's Colin Baker, Bonnie Langford, Michael Jaston, Linda Bellingham, The Honor Blackman, Michael Craig, Malcolm Tierney, Arthur Hewlett, and Simon Slater. Clow will go on and direct the next story, Ultimate Foe, but also Delta and the Bannerman, Dragonfire, The Happiness Patrol, Silver Nemesis. So he's on the Doctor Who speed dial from here almost on out. And other shows he directed were EastEnders and Brookside. Honor Blackman, our guest star in this one, of the Avengers fame. She was, when the show started being good, she was with John Steed. The first season of the Avengers it's missing, but John Steed wasn't the lead. They were figuring it out, and sort of starts finding its footing. It doesn't become what people love about the Avengers till Diana Rigg comes in, but Honor Blackman did make a presence felt, which landed her into James Bond as Pussy Galore and Goldfinger. So that's who's here. She, if you think Honor Blackman and Doctor Who, was it during the Tom Baker era or Pertwee or Colin Baker? Way down the line, which is still cool and gives, an air of prestige to his era. And we introduced Bonnie Langford, and she comes from the stage.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting casting choice here. Is this the one that they kind of would say it's reminiscent of Billie Piper landing Doctor Who? If you would compare castings, though she's not a pop star, but she was very well known in stage productions.
I don't know, because I was not aware of what popular culture was like then.
I wasn't. I'm just in my research and watching documentaries and stuff. It feels like that's, if you were to connect something to modern Who, that'd be the closest thing, because she's more known for something else being pulled in. It was
maybe
this was an era of just John Nathan Turner thinking I could do anything. Probably. And make it there. So
it's like, we need a new companion. She needs to be able to scream, but can she scream from the diaphragm?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
her screaming was something like, I'll skip to it right now. Cliffhangers.
It was unique.
These cliffhangers in Vervoids, they wanted her to scream on key so it matched the sound that leads into the end credits. The
theme song.
And they do it twice, the first two cliffhangers in this one, but that's one of the pluses they found with Bonnie Langford. She kept having to do that. Plus, she was a singer on the stage. I imagine being a British television show, British thespians. Imagine in any given Doctor Who story, 85 to 90% of the cast can sing. I'm just gonna guess. I'm gonna say 70% of them could probably dance solid. Just multifaceted talents out there. But yeah, she's welcome in here to replace Nicola Bryant. It's an interesting non-origin to a companion, as she gets to show up quote unquote fully formed rather than introducing.
Yeah, because technically this adventure has not happened yet,
right,
for the Doctor, but because the Matrix is capable of recording anything and everything that happens in a Time Lord's lifespan, past, present, and future, because it doesn't matter to the Matrix. It's like Bad Wolf. It sees everything.
It's not like time is a line. Time is everything. It's like Arrival.
It's a big ball of wibbly wobbly, timey wimey stuff.
Right.
To quote another Doctor. So, but yeah, the fact that they're doing, the evidence that they're using either for or against the Doctor is something that he knows happened in the past, something is happening currently, and he gets pulled out of to start the trial, and then something in his future, but they never. In a world of Doctor Who, you could talk about something that technically has not happened yet, like it has happened.
Right.
Because at least in this case, because there's a visual aid.
Yes.
At least, unlike some other encounters where the Doctor's had, where something has happened it's not happened for him yet, like with River, 10 meeting River at the end of her life. So he has no idea who River is, or in the Shakespeare Code, when Queen Elizabeth pops up, an older Queen Elizabeth, and is pissed off at the 10th Doctor,
right.
And he has no idea why. Because it hasn't happened to him yet. So, it's a very dangerous thing.
Right. Yeah. I also, a funny thing here, like, so he's pulling from the future here, right? So if this exists, I just prove that I get found not guilty on this trial and I'm not put to death. Here I am in the future. I exist. The end.
Yeah, but the trial is taking place outside of time.
Right, outside of time. True. This is like, well, just from where you stopped and were pulled, this is the future of that. So future, like Doc Brown says, it hasn't been written.
Exactly.
Marty, but Mel, I like to point out too that I think Mel inspired many iconic cartoon things later on down the road. This particular episode, her outfit is 100% April O'Neil Ninja Turtles. Her hair, everything.
I guess that's one way to do it. It's very 80s. I mean, it's definitely of the time with the and it only gets worse actually with some of Mel's outfits. She's very puffy sleeves, very big collars. She's got very big hair, but I'm pretty sure Bonnie has curly hair, so they were just going with what she's got, but just putting it up in a barrette, and it's just really big, and it's very of the time.
Very much.
So.
Very much. And
it's still more practical than some of Perry's outfits. So
yeah. Oh, definitely. I don't think they were trying to show off Bonnie like they were Nicola. But like
they could. I mean, Bonnie's a good looking gal.
She is. She problem here too is because we introduced her late, we only know her background because of like written synopses. She's supposed to be this like computer tech person that never is said or comes out on the show at all. Like that's what her before meeting the Doctor, that's what she was. And all we hear is it's a megabyte modem later in the next story. But that's it. And Bonnie, I think, I think that with Doctor Who, like every Doctor is someone's favorite Doctor, every companion is someone's favorite. Like I think, and I don't I really have an appreciation for pretty much almost anything they've, and call me an apologist or whatever, but I can see the appeals of certain eras, certain people, and understand why certain people like them, even if it's not as strongly in my own. I think Bonnie gets a pretty bum rap a lot. She got brought in at a really weird time in the show where she's at, and she was only doing a 2-year stint. I think she does what there was asked of her, and I think she brings a nice, fun, like peppy kind of feel like for a little like fun, Riley gal for like a little girl watching the show to be like, yeah, she kicks ass or something like that, like I think she's a fun character, especially for a younger audience to see, and she's all in for it. She's never done like TV or anything, I believe, at this point, or at least in a serious recurring role or something like this, and she does everything that's asked for her ever. Like I don't think she's failing at it, and I just think some of the stuff that's lacking is on the page and just in terms of production. I don't think it's Bonnie.
Yeah, no, she's definitely one of those characters, much like Colin's doctor, where Big Finish has come in to really flesh the character out, make her more more well-rounded as a companion. And unfortunately I've not listened to a whole lot of Mel in Big Finish, even though I tend to listen to a lot of Sixth Doctor, but I tend to veer more towards the Sixth Doctor and Evelyn, which is one of my favorite pairings in Big Finish, which technically his adventures with Evelyn also take place during this era. So somewhere in between Perry dying and him picking up Mel, he picks up Evelyn and has all those adventures. So
he's got like a billion adventures we never knew of. But
yep,
I've listened to the one where like he returns Mel back while also picking her. Like it's a mess of a thing. I can't remember like there's two Collins and I believe 2 Mels in this story. It's like I can't remember what it was called, but it was really confusing. I listened to that one because I think it was supposed to be Mel's origin story or something. Following Trial of the Time Lord. Really crazy stuff. But let's get into Vervoids. We got Pip and Jane Baker, who did Mark of the Ronnie, coming back, and this is this is like space Agatha Christie, pretty much.
Yeah,
Like,
it's a murder mystery in space,
but it's got the like
on a not quite base under siege, but yeah,
it's got like sets and characters that kind of remind me of Agatha Christie. Even like it fits. Like you could easily somehow there's a bit too much going on to be Agatha Christie tightly.
Yeah,
but
I think it's what is it? It's what's the Agatha Christie that when you have like people, was it 10 Little Indians?
And then there were none.
And then there were none.
And then well, that's the same story. It was that had originated with a title that we don't use anymore, and then became the title you use, which apparently is and then there were none. That well, I think the book is and then there were none, and then the stage plays were 10 Little Indians is where that comes from. But all the same
that's
story.
Where I know it from. Yeah, it's essentially the same things. People start dying, and it's like, well, eventually there'll be one person alive, and it may be the killer that killed everybody else, or someone will kill the killer, and they'll be final girl. Who knows?
Fun fact. My senior year of high school, I played General Mackenzie in 10 Little Indians, which is MacArthur in the book. But fun old man. But yeah, this one it's got I like the geography of this one. Feels fluid, like the ship, and you bounce around between some of the cockpit, the lounge, the pod area, some other places, and the workout room. It's kind of cluish, like where did he get killed? Where, like, which room with what?
Well, if you've ever been on a cruise ship, there's a kind of space. You expect to see there's going to be a general like hangout area where people just kind of hang out and have drinks and talk and maybe read books, which the one gal, the scientist she's reading an Agatha Christie book, I think.
Yes.
When we first see her
Like,
on screen.
we get it.
Wink,
we
wink,
get
nudge,
it.
nudge. Yeah.
For those
No
of you at home,
telegraphing there.
yeah, I will
Yeah.
say about there's strangers. One of the coolest designs in my book, the Colin Baker Era, comes here with the Mongolians, and their helmets are awesome mainly, but I think the whole outfit is cool. But I like them quite a bit. I don't think they have a figurine from Eagle Moss of them yet. I would get one. I
It's
think
very
they're
Daft Punk.
yes. Pre though.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, they predate Daft
You're
Punk,
like,
but
no
it's
shit, Brandon. It's pre Daft Punk.
It is very Daft Punk.
Very much so. Very much so. But I do
which
like
is
that.
much more than I could say for the design of the actual Vervoids, who
Yeah.
look way more like something else that starts with the letter V.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. You know what that is, folks.
Couple of things that start with the letter V that are part of the same thing.
Violinists.
Yes.
Violinists.
Violence.
Violence.
Violets. Yes. They
Violets,
look like
yes.
giant violets. They
Violets.
should be purple instead.
Yeah.
No.
They get. I mean, it.
I think at this point, John Nathan Turner is like, yeah, sure, whatever.
Go for it, man. This could be it. This could be our last season. We are just
like, whatever. What are they gonna do? Cancel us? They already tried to cancel us once.
yeah. The Vervoids, they feel it's weird. Besides their genitalia lookalike contest outfits,
Freud would have a field day with
Yes.
those.
they are at the same time they are a bit much for this, but also fit it perfectly. Like the look, like they're over the top, costume monsters. But then there's like, well, these are kooky. But I'm like, well, so is everything else in this ship. Like it's interesting because I don't know. It's one thing I do enjoy about like this season and McCoy. What I'll enjoy about McCoy's first season, which McCoy's first season is my least favorite season of all of Classic Who. But I do think I truly love that they can't pull off what they want to from the script's imagination and the budget resources, but the set builders, they pull up their suspenders and they just go for the best they can. There's like a respect and charm I have for that. Like we remember these places, costumes and creatures more than we do a lot of CG aliens and monsters from other things in science fiction.
That is very true. Yeah.
A lot of the CG stuff goes for like a realistic look and they all look the same and all that kind of stuff. And even if like they swing and miss, we love that swing and miss. We remember that swing and miss. Like I remember a Vervoid. I can't tell you what the alien from Cowboys versus Aliens looks like.
Yeah.
For Cowboys and Aliens. So,
yeah. I mean, the thing with big rubbery monsters is even at the time, they're going to look like giant rubbery monsters.
Right.
So they don't necessarily age.
Yes.
Because they're always just going to look what they look like. Unlike CGI, where at the time you're probably like, oh my God, this is groundbreaking. But after so many years, you're looking at it and you're like, yeah, that didn't age very well.
it distracts in a way that it feels
it can get dated really, really quickly.
Yeah. Dated CG can feel hollow and lifeless, whereas a practical costume monster feels living, breathing, and everybody in the room is actually knowing it's there and it works better. Like gives the people buy into it more or something, that. And
your actors are going to be responding because they're actually there in the room with them. Like how many behind the scenes stuff have we seen where, the actor or actress is all like, yeah, I was there screaming to a tennis ball on a stick.
Yep.
So that I was looking generally in the right area.
Yes.
Whether with the CGI thing. So
exactly. And no harm. There's talent in that arena. There's work. There's lots of hard hours and stuff, but there's something for me that I like, that the idea of all these people coming together, trying to create something physical from the ground up. Like that's, there's just something to be said about that. Now, this is like probably old codger talk from Rachel and I, but that's how we feel. And
Back about day.
give me the rubber guy. That's fine. But the funny thing with CG was it was invented as a way to continually work on and improve the effects of a movie, but people just released it and stopped. Unless you're like George Lucas, who goes back to tinker his stuff, nobody was doing it. They were like, well, we're done.
That's not
like,
always a good thing.
We're supposed to go back and touch up. So it came with time. Now we got all these things with 2D renders that look bad because we now are 2K renders that need 4K renders, 8K renders, but people don't go back because it costs money still. But hey, so there also in the script, there's lots of interesting detective work that I like going on, research and spying from either Mel or the Doctor. They both play a Ms. Marple, Hercule Poirot role in this, which is very fun. And the Doctor's got some good quips that I like. I forgot to write down one of my favorite ones. I was like, this is great. And I didn't write it down. There's one, it's a very Pertwee line. Like, you know, when someone like asks him, are you a doctor of many things? It was very, it was very much one of those, but coming from Colin, and he delivered it wonderfully.
Yes. Yeah. Well, and this one is when he's, you know, trying to get information. It was the poor gal working like the desk. He pulls out the like a flower.
Yes.
like here you go. Now tell me what I wanted.
Yeah. What did you think of the overall, once the plot's revealed of who's doing what to who to what? Does it work for you, or is it too convoluted? It's
a little convoluted. You know, if it could, I think they could have just gone maybe with just the scientist mad experiment gets out of control type thing.
But who's the scientist? Because we know the Vervoids are going to do some shit. Like this one almost would almost be better served without a monster if you're going to do murder mystery, because you've got, well, not only you got the Vervoids, then you've got the Megarians. They're basically they're guys with helmets on because they can't breathe the air, but like they're monster, robot, whatever that role is. So now you got two of them, and then you got the scientists, the ship people, that, you know, like, so there's too much mischievousness going all around, dwindling down to the core. There is some fun creepy stuff with the Vervoids taking over bodies. The woman in the drawer that they find, that's creepy stuff to me. I think the makeup job on that's pretty good.
Yeah. But yeah, because you have like the actual Vervoids themselves. You've got these seeds that the Sixth Doctor eats one of them.
Yeah.
And there's this whole thing with the black hole that
the big cliffhanger driving into the black hole that takes forever to drive into.
Yeah, but apparently you can drive just close enough to, and technically it's still safe. And it's a bit much. It could have axed like maybe one thing and could have rolled with it, but depending on what you axe would get you a potentially different story.
Right. Yeah.
So it's like what do you chop so that you still tell the story that you want to tell? So
if you're gonna get into Terror of the Vervoids, you want to, it's not so much the end of it, it's enjoying a murder mystery romp. The things that come with it, the clues searching, the characters you interact with, you got to enjoy just going along with that, because the end's going to be, well, it's because of this, and then that led to this, which this did this, and now this is going for this, but you got to do this. So kind of crazy. Before we get to the end result of this, I forgot to bring up early on, Mel is a little concerned with the Doctor's health.
Yes.
This is the exercise bike episode of Doctor Who. With Colin,
I think Mel was a big fan of Jane Fonda.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah, that was
Workout tapes.
big workout tapes in the 80s. That would
Again, just a product of its time. The
Mhm.
big, you know, athletics workout, Jane Fonda and Richard Simmons and all those. It's
Mhm.
just like every celebrity seemed to have a workout tape.
And the carrot juice. Oh,
The carrot juice.
The doomed foreshadowing of his fate. Carrot juice.
Should have just had a V8.
Should have just had a V8. That's true. So in the end, to get rid of the Vervoids, the only thing they can do is accelerate their life, which means accelerate the seasons, killing them, and which changes the charge in the trial
To genocide.
Genocide. Which and so then we will be going to the finale, the decision, the trial of the century or whatever makes.
I mean, if the Vervoids had been left to live, it's I guess it did. I guess it would if you really, I think you're really philosophical about this, about whether the Vervoids were actually like sentient beings or if they were just mindless plants, more plant matter, just doing what comes naturally to try to protect themselves, kind of like a cactus. Cactus is gonna prick you. It's not doing it intentionally, it's just trying to protect itself. So, but I mean, the Vervoids had shown that they were, I mean, if they'd been left to go to Earth or wherever, they would have been probably an invasive species. So, and I mean, here on Earth, especially in the United States, we've got invasive species, and the best thing we could try to do is eradicate them, so that they don't completely throw off the ecosystem. So I guess it just depends on whether you consider the Vervoids sentient or not.
Gotcha. Fair enough. Tell us, listeners, where are you standing in the Vervoids' life?
I mean, to me, they seemed kind of mindless to me.
All right.
They were just kind of like,
Fair enough.
But I'm also on the doctor side, so I'm very biased.
Gotcha. True that.
I'm sure the doctor would appreciate having another person on his side, but I wouldn't make for a very good argument in the courtroom.
Gotcha.
I don't think.
Fair enough. All right. Well, Rachel, it's time to return the TARDIS and set our coordinates for our next adventure. In the meantime, whereabouts in time and space can people find you?
Well, every other week you can find me with Gold Standard, the Oscars podcast, where DJ Nick, Zane, and I are watching and reviewing all of the Academy Award winners for Best Picture in chronological order. We can be found wherever you find podcasts, and on Facebook, just look for Gold Standard, the Oscars podcast, or on Twitter at Oscars Gold. I'll get it right one of these days. And then every week you can find me with the Five-ish Girls podcast. We're a pop culture and entertainment podcast where we talk about all things geeky and nerdy from the female perspective. And again, we can be found wherever you find podcasts and at the5ishfangirls.com, where you can connect with all of our social media accounts and my personal ones as well.
All right. Hashtag carrot juice. I'm on Twitter and Instagram at BrandonForkUHD, written work at wiseofblue.com. There is more for the Brandon Peters Show this week. Tomorrow, Old Space Show, Ultimate Foe. The verdict comes in. Be there. Stay film positive.
Thank you for listening. The Brandon Peters Show is a Creative Zombie Studios production. Produced by Brad Shoemaker and Brandon Peters. Written and edited by Brandon Peters. Announcer vocals by Jessica Alsman. Theme song by Metavari. Web design and show art by Brad Shoemaker with Brandon Peters. All music and clips featured in the episode are property of their respective studios, and no infringement is intended. Additional information on this and other episodes at BrandonPetersShow.com. For any inquiries, press opportunities, or sponsorship, contact mail@brandonpetershow.com. The show is available on Apple Music, Spotify, or anywhere podcasts are found.